you talked about the masculine, right?
Yeah.
Energy that you possess to get things done. How do you turn that on and off switch between workflow and now like at home being, in your realm and stuff like that, where
Yeah.
you don't have to be always working?
Well, my audience knows this, and I wanted to actually talk to you guys about that too, because I'm curious hearing like a man's perspective on this. For me, it's really simple. I'm in a masculine energy when I'm serving my clients, when I'm producing anything in my business. There's like this strong masculine energy of service and giving and devotion and action. When I shift then, and I do this all throughout the day, so it's not like a 9 to 5 thing, because that's just not the lifestyle that works for me. It's more like I wake up, I'm in really feminine energy with Mitch, with myself, and then it shifts into some client work, and then I'm back in very strong masculine energy, allowing them to be in more of a receptive. And then as soon as it's done with that client, whether it's session or telegramming, okay, I instantly switch into feminine energy. I'm meditating, I'm going to yoga, I'm going on a hike, I'm lying on the couch, I'm having lunch, like whatever I'm doing it in a really feminine energy. Oh, and then now it's time to go into more like administrative mode, which I don't really do that much of anymore, which is awesome. But back when I was doing it all myself, I would shift into masculine energy. And it's like I'm always calling in these energies, like, okay, I'm like hyper focused masculine mode, let's go. And then I shift into that feminine energy, which is more receiving. So at the end of the day, like when Mitch comes home from work, because he works out of the house and I work in the house, like my office is in our house. And it's like, it's so easy. I'm just like, we're not talking about work. And sometimes we do, like at the dinner table, he might say a few things, and he jokes, he calls himself my business manager because he has more of a corporate mindset, and it gives me that perspective, which is great. But I'm often just like, okay, thank you. And I'm receiving information. And then I'm often like, all right, like let's not anymore. And let's just shift into like girly mode, fiance mode. Like I'm really good at just getting into my feminine energy because I love that polarity and I love that contrast. And I feel like I'm as successful as I am because I know when to like turn it on and turn it off.
So let me ask you this question. When you're in those modes, when you're turning on, turning off, it sounds like you're describing compartmentalization. That you're really good at compartmentalizing. That when you're with Mitch in the evenings, and this is why it's fascinating to me, can you actually turn off your entrepreneurial brain? Or are you just, even when you're with Mitch, are you still thinking about your business and like the next thing and the next thing and the next thing? Because that is uber difficult for someone that owns their own business.
Yeah. And that's why I want to chat with you guys about that too, because I know you guys have lives outside of your business. So for many years, it was really hard. And I again am so grateful for that, because I think I wouldn't have built what I built if I didn't have that like insane focus. But now it's pretty easy to switch on and off. And I'm almost the one now who I'm like, okay, can we stop talking about my business? Like other people want to talk about it a lot. And I'm just like, I just like want to have some wine and that's a different thing for me. That's honestly a really new thing for me. And I think it's actually really healthy at this stage in my life because I have the foundations in place that got me there. But yeah, I guess I don't love the word compartmentalization, and that's maybe an edge I need to look at, but I think of it more of like a flow. I'm more just like, oh, I'm effortlessly flowing into masculine mode. And if you ask like my assistant, she always highlights this about me, how wild it is that I can just be like, show up and be like, boom, boom, here's everything we need to do in like this hyper masculine, powerful way. And then be like, okay, let's have champagne and let's talk about this now. And oh, here, okay, let's set an intention. Let's visualize, let's meditate. Like it's very shocking for people that I don't think own their own feminine and masculine energy, how like the spectrum is intense for me. And that's just who I am. It's all I know. I don't.
It's because it's taboo.
It's different.
Because,
yeah.
It's because it's taboo, because it's, how do I say this? Women can be in their masculine, but it's like how do I say this? Because media me is coming into play here.
Yeah, don't censor yourself.
Yeah, the media positions it in a way where it's bad to be women to be in their masculine because of the polarity of like how that's going to work with a relationship. But if you actually use your entrepreneurial brain, you'll realize is that 99% of the time a woman's going to be in her masculine when it comes down to work. But I love what you just said. When you're with Mitch, your fiance, you know when to turn it off.
Yeah. And in my business in certain aspects, like if I'm setting intentions and if I'm really focusing on receiving, there's a chapter in my book called The Art of Receiving. If I'm really focusing on like, I'm ready to receive like a divine invitation from, like when I think about back when Gwyneth Paltrow shared my book on her Instagram, I was in a very feminine era. And that was a huge influx of sales for me, a huge big growth thing in my business. When she shared that, if I thought about what I was doing in like the weeks leading up to that, I was at the cottage, I was chilling out. All I was caring about was like being tanned and toned. I was drinking wine, I was exercising, I was like very in a feminine era. And then that amazing thing happened. I think that that's why that harmony is so important, especially for female entrepreneurs, which are the majority of our listeners truly, to be in that harmonization. And they know my perspective on this, but I'd like to hear from the two of you just in terms of, well, you've interviewed a lot of female entrepreneurs, which I applaud you for. So if there's anything that maybe you guys have riffed on that's coming through, that would be awesome. And then for you, Joel, I know you have a wife and you have a daughter, right? You have a daughter. So you also it's almost like you're in this masculine energy all the time because you're parenting, you're being a husband, and you're in work. So how do you allow yourself to receive and take care of yourself? And what does that look like? What's the feminine energy looking like for you guys?
Yeah, I'm going to answer your question. One thing that I think is a topic that I think is important because it is a little bit taboo is there is this stigma around women with strong male energy that have really dominant personalities. And when you look at, this is really relevant in the corporate world, when you look at women that have like moved up the chain into these like senior management roles, a lot of times people are like, she's a,
oh yeah.
But you know why? It's because they have that dominant energy. And it's okay for a guy to have it, but when a woman like portrays that energy, it gets misconstrued as they're a bitch, they're insensitive, whatever, they're not approachable, which I don't think is necessarily the case. But what I like about you and what I think like the women in those roles, in those like advanced CEO roles, should be taking away from this conversation is ebb and flow. Right? You need 100%. To ebb and flow. You can't just be in that dominant mindset all the time, right?
And that's probably taboo to say, but I think it is unnatural to be.
In 2025, I don't think so anymore. I think a lot more people understand.
People are getting it. People are getting it.
I think what, and I wanted to chime in even back to you and then bring it back, is that the healing journey you got to be on, right? You got to know how to distinguish between femininity and masculinity. And like I said, 99% of women are going to be in their masculine when they're at work and they're doing tasks and they're doing what they need to do. But when they come home and if they're dating, whatever their sexual preference is, they're going to be in their feminine, right? Someone like myself, it's like you get in conversations all the time with women. That masculine's there and it stays there. I'm not afraid of it, but it's just like, I don't want to just talk about business, entrepreneurship and things like that when I'm trying to get to know who you are. Right. So it's like when you now are having a conversation with me, I look for those things where it's like, does that light bulb come off? If it stays on, it stays on. But can it come off? Like, can we be like man and woman and things like that? Because from a biology perspective, it's what works. You can't argue biology.
Well, I think that, and that's right? Like every men are super simple. We, from a primal perspective, we're here because we want to provide, right? And you're not going to provide for someone with dominant energy, right? You're going to provide for someone that needs you for any given purpose. Like you go back in the day, it was like, hey, you need me to go out and like kill the food and do all the dangerous stuff so that you survive and you can make sure the baby's alive, right? That's a very, very primal instinct, right? Well, that instinct continues on in a very like core way. It's like almost hardwired into us, right? So we almost have to be more like on all the time because like we're like the providers. I'm the dad, I'm the husband, I'm the entrepreneur, right? So I'll answer your question about how do I tap into my feminine energy. I would say with me, the thing that allows me to do that is empathy. So I try in all of my interactions, and especially, with my wife and even with my daughter, is always seeing things from what are they going through? Like what's on the other side? So that I can then cater my response. So it's not always like the hard line male energy. It's the, okay, let me listen to understand what's going on. Let me try to put myself in your shoes, and then let's respond. So I think that is how I try to receive the information I'm getting, from a place of empathy.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I love how you tied that up.
I like that.
Because I'm in the same sort of perspective. It's like stripping away the masculine and knowing that, for me, masculinity means the ability to just listen. Mm-hmm. Let her be able to come to you and you just listen. Mm-hmm. Because you know it and I know it. Women love to talk.
I do.
Y'all love to this. Nothing wrong with it.
Grace to you.
But here's the thing is, share that information. I'll just listen.
Yeah.
Could be on the phone. All right, cool. Could be on FaceTime. Cool. Because you don't know what's going on in the world. But it's like, if you're not doing that, it makes me wonder. I'm wondering, like, are you okay? Because it's like you wanna talk to that person in the early stages of dating, in the, if you're boyfriend and girlfriend, or you're married, or whatever you want. Different stroke for different folks. So when you see that, it's like my gaze is to just shut off that and just listen. And just say, hey, listen, I'm here for you to just listen to what's going on. And at the time you want feedback, let me know. Sometimes you don't. Key.
I was going to say.
Sometimes you don't want to solidify.
Are you good at, because I know a lot of men, and Mitch, my fiance, he's amazing for this. But it's also like, sometimes I'm just like, I don't want you to fix this. He loves to fix.
Yeah, you got it. We all do.
I was going to say, are you guys the same?
Yes,
I feel like
100%.
that is.
It depends on the situation.
Or you're maybe learning to just listen more, and then, like you said, asking, is it time for feedback?
I learned to ask the question right up front, because my natural instinct is, let's find a solution.
Yes.
Right?
That's
so
common.
And I would say most men's natural instinct is, go find the solution. There's a problem. We got to fix it. So what I've learned to do is to either figure it out really quickly, or ask the question, be like, you want me to just listen right now, or do you want me to provide some solutions?
That's so good.
Right? So for your 3 male listeners, ask those questions.
even
or educate your partner to ask those questions. Like, I love when Mitch will just be like, I'm listening. It's like, that is like the most nourishing thing to feminine energy. And I'm sure to masculine energy, very rarely does Mitch come to me with, it's like he doesn't ever put anything on me, but the very rare time he does, I've learned to just be like, I'm listening. Yeah. And that is like a gift in itself.
That's what makes her feel safe.
Yeah.
I'm listening. Yeah. And then the other part of it is that sometimes when you all are exhausting the tank, I know the tank ain't empty. It's and I'm like, I feel like there's some more there. And then it starts up again. And I'm like, are you sure you're good? Yeah. And I'm like, what is it you need from me now?
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing too is, speaking about masculinity from a male's perspective, check in with your lady and say, how I'm showing up for you. At least, not all the time. It's not like every day, how am I showing up for you? But like, when you're sitting in those moments, how am I showing up for you? What is it you need?
Yeah.
When you do that adds a sense of like security to her.
Yeah.
The funniest thing about this conversation is, I'm actually kind of like the woman at home, and Katrina's like the man, in that I like to talk, right? Like, I like to, vent, or if there's like something that's happening, I want to talk it out. Like, let's talk it out. Let's find a solution. Let's get there. And Katrina's very much like, nah, like the least amount of stuff that we can talk about, the better, right? So it's kind of funny, because we're describing male energy, female energy, and I would describe myself as having really strong male energy. But when I'm at home with my wife, I'm like, I embrace my emotions. I'm not like, I'm not afraid to talk about like how I feel. I think that's super important. Where she's like, talking to me about this stuff, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
she's funny.
She's like, love it. She's like, oh, okay, that's enough. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
And you guys are just harmonizing each other, and you're just balancing each other. And
it's like there's yin and yang there,
that's
right?
It. That's the key, is that there's that harmonization, and people are always looking to balance and harmonize energy. Like we are always doing it in a conversation. Like, you're always wanting to harmonize. And the last thing we'll say about this, then let's shift gears a little bit, and then I know we got to wrap up soon. But the last thing I'd say on this is, like, with the female entrepreneurs that are listening, I already know, because I have now worked with hundreds of female entrepreneurs, very high performing female entrepreneurs, millionaires, multimillionaires, and beyond. And the common thread is they're in their masculine a lot, and they really want to be in their feminine more. So I always give them the homework of being that feminine energy at home, because and the ones that are moms, they're in hyper masculine. And Katrina probably knows this, like, it's masculine to be a mom. There's a lot of masculine energy that goes to providing for a child. So any chance you can get, my bet is, if you're listening to this, you probably lean more masculine. Any chance you can get, be in your feminine more. And then if you are one of the rare people listening to this who's like, you know what, actually, I'm in my feminine way too much, and it would feel good for me to harmonize by being more in my masculine, they'll get a lot out of this conversation as well.
They're going to ask for you for a part 2, and they're going to probably say, bring Joel and Roy back on. As far as the dating solution to find the right man that's going to be able to shut kind of a lot of that down.
Part 2.
But I don't know if they want part 2.